Welcome you all and thank one person who helped make this happen, and that's David Termizi. Thank you very much. This is in fact the third Saja event that we've had with Imran Khan. The first we did a few weeks after Benazir Bhutto's assassination, and then we did another conversation here at the J School, and now this opportunity. It's on the occasion is the launch of his book that's been launched in England, but not yet here in America. It's called Imran Khan, Pakistan, A Personal History, and we hope he will talk a lot about that today. It's now my pleasure to introduce you to our moderator and host for this evening, a great friend of the J School and a wonderful Saja member named Bobby Ghosh. Bobby is world editor of Time magazine, and just that title tells you how South Asian journalism and how South Asian journalists have started influencing American media. And Bobby is one of the top editors at Time. Before that, he was Baghdad bureau chief for Time and lived and worked overseas before he came to work in America. And we want you all to follow his work on the Time.com website and buy the magazines, of course, on the app. But his Twitter handle is Ghosh World, and I hope you will all follow him there. Please give a big hand to Bobby Ghosh.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. I can sense the excitement in the room. And one of the difficulties when you moderate an event like this is to find a way to introduce the guest in a way that surprises people. It's hard to do with Imran Khan, particularly for this audience. I suspect he needs no introduction at all. So I thought, for a while, I thought that I would just make something up. This is Imran Khan. He's a world-famous violinist who, after his long and distinguished career, set up a chain of international Italian restaurants. But that can only get you a few giggles. And so I, in the end, decided I would dispense with the big formal introduction. Imran Khan is too well known for that, and I will swing straight into it. I think the way we worked this out with Sri was that I would ask a few questions at the top for maybe about 10 or 15 minutes, then we'll open it up. I got my own copy of this book yesterday, and I sort of finished reading it just about half an hour before I hooked up with Imran. Imran has just come to Time magazine for a Q&A, which will be in the magazine next week, and also on Time.com. So I'm in the slightly privileged position of having read the book, but I recommend it highly. It's an excellent book. It's an unexpected book to read from us. It sort of finally shatters the image that I had of Imran Khan as the sports person. To me now, he can no longer be the Imran of my youth. And I say that with a twinge of sadness, but I also have a greater appreciation for the man he has become, for what he's trying to achieve, which is far more than we expect from our sporting heroes, and I admire and respect him for that. The last thing Imran said at the interview to Time was interesting. He said that as a cricket player, he always knew he had the killer instinct, which is the root of his success, and he always knew when he had the opponent in his grasp. And he feels that way today about Pakistani politics and his place in Pakistani politics. He senses that a moment has arrived, his moment has arrived. So I'll start, Imran, by asking you to explain that, and what constellation of events have taken place that lead you to that conclusion.
Well, thank you, Bobby, for the introduction. Very briefly, about the book, I just want to, before I answer that question, the book is written for two reasons. One, it is written for the youth of Pakistan, because never in my life, which almost, Pakistan was 5 years old when I was born. So never in my life have I seen the Pakistani youth more confused as it is right now. So there are so many questions, so many issues, issues about secularism, about Islam, about Pakistan's future, about politics, about internationalism, about war on terror. So I thought, there needs to be a direction that what are the problems, what are the solutions. The second was for, as someone who has spent so much time in the Western world and who understands, I believe I understand the Western mind. And in the this war on terror, the confusion in the West about Islam, as if this war has something to do with an ideology, rather than that the roots are all political. So I thought it was important also to explain to people here what Islam is, what is this whole war on terror, and what are the solutions. Now coming back to the question you asked me. 15 years of politics, no one has done politics like my party has done. To be in the opposition in Pakistani politics, in which there was 8 years of military dictator, is the hardest thing if you compare politics to the Western world. And then to survive in these 15 years, staying in opposition and surviving, and then emerging suddenly in all the opinion polls as the most popular party in Pakistan today. Now, the reason why I say that I finally feel that the opponents are on the mat and that they will not now be able to get up, because I feel that the young people in Pakistan, the youth of Pakistan has already decided. It's not that it's deciding, it has already decided that it wants to change. And they have already decided that the party for change is Tehreek-e-Insaf. And I, as someone who probably the only politician who's moving around in Pakistan, because as you know, most of the other politicians are now bunkered in. They can't get out because of the fear which this war on terror has, the message it has sent to all politicians, petrified of being bombed. So as someone who has now been in the public for these past 3 years, and specifically in the last year, I already see this change. And I see nothing in Pakistan, none of these political parties can now stop this process of change. This is the young people of this country, which are 70% of Pakistanis are below the age of 30. 70% below the age of 30. And if you go in Pakistan today to universities, colleges, schools, already they have made up their mind. And that's where my optimism stems from, because I now know that the old political parties do not have any cards left. There's nothing they can do to reverse this. The only way they can reverse this big tsunami that is going to sweep Pakistan is by performing. But they're all in power now. And one thing Asif Zardari, the biggest favor he has done to us Pakistanis, is that he's exposed all the political forces in the country. He's basically bought all of them. He started from the premise that all politicians have a price, or all crooked politicians have a price, and he co-opted all of them. And so as the country and the economy sinks, so have all the political parties sunk with him. He's taken them down with him. And the only party that is now, if you look at the polls, the only party which is going up is Tehreek-e-Insaf. All the other parties are going down. And as I said, the only way they can reverse this is by suddenly performing. But I'm afraid there is a total institutional collapse in Pakistan. There's nothing they can do now to stop this process of change. And finally, what has really sparked off this process of change is the most vibrant, independent media, specifically television. Television has changed Pakistan. The level of political awareness in Pakistan is unprecedented. The most popular programs are current affair programs. So every evening, there are about 6 current affair programs that are constantly informing the public about the situation and about the politics and the politicians. And so therefore, in my opinion, the next elections, where you will see a bigger change. Then there was a big wave in 1970 by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. I see a bigger change coming in the coming elections next year.
You pointed out that 7% of Pakistanis are young people, and they face a great deal of misrule, corruption, lack of jobs, inflation. These are all factors that have combined in other parts of the world this year to create revolution. Spring uprisings in Europe, and now here in the United States. Why has there not been a Pakistani spring?
You see, there was already a Pakistani equivalent to the Arab Spring actually happened, what was then called the lawyers' movement. That was our Arab Spring. Unfortunately, that was hijacked. As you will see these Middle Eastern revolutions being hijacked, there's counter-revolution already taking place in some of the countries. Ours was, as we were moving towards a genuine democracy, unfortunately we were hijacked by one of the political parties. They joined us, and then all of us ended up boycotting the elections, saying that these elections were managed, there were pre-poll rigging in that, the Chief Justice was in house arrest. How could you have an election when the media was muzzled, political party workers were in jails? And unfortunately, at the last minute, PMLN ended up going into the elections and destroyed this movement. Then again, this movement started behind the Chief Justice in what was called the Long March, which was, again, the whole public joined in. And again, this political party did a deal and came back halfway through from Islamabad, and again the whole movement collapsed. But this time, I'm afraid, as the political party itself has got exposed, now what you will see, that unlike the Middle East, we are probably a country which actually has now a political party to lead this. In the Middle East, the problem is it's a civil society coming out, but there's no clear leadership. In Pakistan today, Tehreek-e-Insaf has given that leadership, which stands for a movement for change. So we are actually ahead of the Middle East. Secondly, our media is way ahead of the Middle East. In the Middle East, it was the social media that is what created awareness. In Pakistan, we actually have a very vibrant print and television, electronic media, which is constantly informing the public about what's happening.